lastly, the third component project of the Nicer Caves program is Terrestrial Arthropod Diversity Assessment of cave and karst areas in Calabarzon. To discuss with us the status and the updates of the project, may I call on Dr. Ireneo L. Lit Jr., the project leader for Project 3. Sir Jun.
Thank you, Bonnie. May I share my screen? So I'm not sure if our faculty regent is present, but let me begin my salutations. Faculty regent Amy Dupo, MNH director and Nicer Caves program leader, Dr. Marian P. De Leon, fellow curators and staff of the MNH, and then our esteemed colleagues from the DOST Picard, DOST Region 4A, the DNR Region 4A, and the Regional Caves Committee. Of course, our fellow curators and staff of the MNH, beloved students, friends, and colleagues. Good afternoon. And magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. The title of our report this afternoon is Terrestrial Arthropods! With exclamation point. Celebrating the other 60% of life as they occur in caves and karst areas of Calabarzon, Luzon, Philippines. And we in Project 3 are all the authors collectively, a real team effort. So we present here our review and updates for Nicer Caves Project 3, Terrestrial Arthropod Diversity Assessment of Cave and Karst areas in Calabarzon. And if you ask me, if you ask me or ask about how we came up with that figure of 60%, that would require another webinar. It would suffice for today that the widely accepted figures for insects or hexapods alone is that they comprise 75% of the animal kingdom. Hindi nag-move yung screen ko. Let me see. Sandali lang po, i-check lang, sorry. Dalaw na. Okay na? Okay na? So, sorry po, balik ko lang. So, going back, if you include all the arthropods, all the other arthropods, that will be 80%. And now, here in UP, the usual passing score is 60%, and therefore, if you miss the arthropods, you know the consequences. Just so before we continue, we would like to provide a brief overview of the topics that will be covered in this presentation. We will start with a brief introduction, which I'm already doing now, followed by the various pre-Nicer outputs. And finally, this presentation will discuss Nicer preliminary outputs, which will be divided into three themes. The establishment or improvement of methods in other field and laboratory protocols. 2, the trends in diversity and other aspects of cave community and population ecology. And 3, the taxonomy and biogeography of various groups of arthropods inside caves and from the surrounding karst environment. So, to continue, those are the 3: sampling protocols and guidelines, arthropod diversity, and then finally, systematics and taxonomy. So, you already heard about the number of caves in the Philippines, which is roughly around 1,500, but we might expect that they might run to around 2,000. Mostly limestone. I said mostly because we suspect that in some areas there might be some lava tubes, and then these by themselves, caves by themselves, are unique, natural, and non-renewable resources, but they also contain unique, natural, and non-renewable resources inside them. And they are actually, they contain important scientific, they can provide us important scientific, economic, educational, cultural, and historical, as well as aesthetic values. They are protected officially under Republic Act 1792. And before the nicer project here in the UPLB, MNH actually had already pioneered in cave and karst biodiversity research program. That was around early 2006 or 2007. And this program has been conceived to generate basic bioecological data on organisms found inside and within the immediate karst vicinity of Philippine caves. Here the special focus is on the aspects of biodiversity and conservation. So, as I mentioned, it is one of the research and extension programs of the UPLB MNH, and in fact, in some years ago, the biodiversity extension program has been awarded the outstanding extension program in the UPLB campus. That's for the MNH, and it's conceived to generate basic bioecological data. Now, the UPLB Institute of Biological Sciences, together with the UPLB MNH, is also the first and only academic institution in the country to formally offer the Cave Ecology course, or Bio 154, and we have already trained more than 50 students on various aspects of cave ecology, cave assessment and classification policy. They include some personnel that are now employed by the MNH as well as the Nicer Caves project. So, as I mentioned, that's Bio 154 that began with a special topics course. And then it's jointly offered by the MNH together with the UPLB IBS. And we have produced, so we have out of that course and even before NICER, I'm mentioning this because they affect also the outputs, our outputs here in this present project. So examples of initial outputs about cave arthropods pre-NICER by the cave biodiversity research in the UPLB, MNH, and IBS include significant contributions by 154 students, thesis students in ecology and wildlife biology and environmental science. And in fact, one of our younger colleagues at IBS EBD, who is a product of our cave ecology course, Assistant Professor John Mark Encinares, had also conducted a UPLB basic research funded study on cave-dwelling bat-associated earwig in Bayak na Bato, as well as the late James Alvarez, who of course, we miss him very much, and surely he would have contributed to this efforts in NICER. So we explored Polillo, mainly Polillo Island, but also Samal Island, caves in Pangasinan, and there are at the moment still several publishable short-term research studies in out of those Bio 154 short-term researches. So going now to the present project. So with the funding from DOST PCAR, the NICER Caves program, that funding opened the proverbial floodgates of potential discoveries and generation of theories in cave arthropod biology. And the wheels of discovery have actually been set into motion. So our project, as I mentioned, focuses on terrestrial arthropods. And we present here the highlights of some of our initial findings based on our series of fieldwork in Cabinti, Tayabas, and Dubo, and field activities in those caves and the surrounding karst forest yielded new knowledge, as well as additional data for our earlier cave expeditions under MNH and IBS. So the primary objective of the project is to establish a center of research for cave arthropod diversity and conservation. It's a long objective, but more or less we are in the right track, and we are guided really This serves as our main guiding principle. So, for example, through the NICER project, we're able to constantly devise and improve paraphernalia, methods, and procedures that allow us to maximize the time we allot for field work without compromising the quality of the samples and data we can collect. We conduct assessments. Why do we do this? Because as I have mentioned to you, during the early part of our cave biodiversity research and extension, most of the information available are on bats, other vertebrates, and the larger animals. So now that we are focusing also on arthropods, specifically terrestrial arthropods, very few studies have been conducted here, including ecological studies, and therefore we have to be certain that the methods that we use will be applicable and scientifically sound. So continuously devise and improve paraphernalia, methods, and procedures. And we assess the efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency, that's how many individuals we trap, for example, in our sampling methods, or effectiveness, what's the extent, how many taxa can we cover, or how many ecological guilds. And these are examples. We have greatly improved our pitfall traps. This modified light trap designed by, led by Christian Locanias. We have to still submit the, what do you call that? Yung design, because this is
utility model.
Utility model, thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Direk. Thank you, Direk, for the sisira ang memory natin. Modified burlesque funnel, and then of course we tried to improve. We are still improving our opportunistic collection because each cave is unique. And then there are some methods that are commonly used during our cave sampling. Some tools that we have modified to better suit the situations during sampling. For example, the burlesque Talgren funnel, which was designed to be portable, so that we can transport it to remote sampling sites. And in addition, we developed a portable light trap that may be used in areas where there is no readily available power source. These are also examples. We conduct assessment not only inside caves but also in the surrounding karst forest. So modification or improvement of the butterfly trap, the Malays trap, and then the light trap. These are all improvements which can be patented actually, but because we want to share it with our colleagues in DNR, in the regional cave committees, we will just publish it, publish a utility model, but it will be available to everyone. So pitfall traps, as I mentioned, and then we compared all those methods based on species richness, mainly the number of species that we collect, as well as abundance, the total number of individuals of captured arthropods. And what we determined based on our studies, especially in the caves of Cavinti, there is a considerable overlap in arthropod taxa collected between pitfall and bannock collections. Again, overall, there is a need to use multiple sampling methods, each targeting different sets of guilds or taxa, in order to properly survey cave arthropods. And based on our experiences, the improvements that we have made, we want to develop a terrestrial cave arthropod sampling manual. The methods, I think I have mentioned this already, the methods, the considerable overlap, the need to use multiple sampling methods. Okay. Next, for arthropod diversity and ecology, the diversity of arthropod assemblages in the three cave systems, Cathedral Cave, Minalocan, and Aranya Cave from Cabinti. Although if you notice in the Excel table that was flashed by Ma'am Lavinia, some of those caves are also claimed by Mauban, Quezon, and then 3 caves in Tayabas, Quezon, and 1 cave from Lobo, Batangas, which we assessed using the aforementioned sampling methods. For Cathedral Cave, there were 31 insect morphospecies and 15 other arthropods. And because of its connection to the Langawan River, there were several semi-aquatic insects that occur sporadically inside the cave. That's the Langawan River waves sometime in 2014, that picture. In Minalocan, a total of 8 insect and 10 non-insect arthropod species were documented, and several can be found also inside Cathedral Cave. In Aranya Cave, there was a total of 15 insect and 5 non-insect arthropods, and of which were found only in that specific cave. For Tayabas, Quezon, in Sungwan Cave specifically, in 2022, a total of 12 insect and 5 non-insect arthropods were documented. And because there is an underground river inside the cave, several semi-aquatic insects also occur sporadically inside the cave. In Tayabas, Quezon, Dry Cave 1 and Dry Cave 2 were a total of 9 insect and 10 non-insect arthropods. Several can also be found in Dry Cave 2, and then 15 insect and 7 non-insect arthropod species in Dry Cave 2, including some cave specialist species. Now, in Lobo, Batangas, Kamantigue Cave, and we adopt here the spelling that is given by the locals, letter C, not letter K. Total of 6 insect and 5 non-insect arthropods were documented. Unfortunately, majority of what we saw were introduced, and we may classify as alien invasive species. So let me, our team prepared, for example, these pictures. That's in in Kamantigue Cave in Lobo, Batangas. That's the common house cockroach, and a parasitoid of the ootheca or egg capsules of the cockroaches is Evania appendigaster. So, ibig sabihin, maraming itlog doon ng ipis na iniitlogan nitong wasp na ito. So this is beneficial. Yung wasp na ito, ensign wasp. Meron din kami nakitang mga crazy ant, Anoplolepis zazilipes. It's still debated whether this is native to the Philippines or not, but it is invasive in many countries. And inside that cave, we can say it is invasive. But what is causing a lot, nung makita namin yung picture at nag-identify ang ating faculty regent, Dr. Amy Dupont, na itong spider na kakaiba ay Loxosceles near rufescens, and when we looked at the information available for Loxosceles rufescens, it's unlike native spiders, which may be venomous, but which will not be normally affecting humans. Loxosceles rufescens is venomous and actually considered a public health hazard. So we might be focusing, and Ma'am Amy will be leading the reporting of this so that we may alert the proper authorities. So for the trends in diversity in our community ecology and population ecology studies, there's a great potential to generate theories. And species accumulation curve, for example, suggests that the observed species richness is lower than the estimated species richness of cave systems. And samples extracted from the substrate like guano yielded higher species richness, particularly for smaller arthropods such as mites and springtails. And in Cavinti, Laguna, and in Tayabas, Quezon, our observations also that there are species of plant hoppers that inside those caves, they possibly indicate the existence of, well, in that very dark environment, the classic sun-powered or solar-powered grazing food web. Normally in caves, we usually say autochthonous or allochthonous, but here it's something that stimulates our minds, that maybe there is something new here. Also, the observations by, especially led by Ma'am Amy, the remains of moths observed directly below bat roost confirmed that the Lepidoptera, or the moths and butterflies, make up a large proportion of the insectivorous bat diet. So actually, we have a long list of potential new species. Around, our estimate is there are at least 20. We need to study them further so that we can name, illustrate, and describe them for the sake of science, and so that biological information and biodiversity data about them may become available to potential information users. And indeed, yes, much has been said, but much still need to be said. And but far above those, much more need to be done. Mas marami pang gagawin. These are example pictures. For example, Stendobrimus. The manuscript name for this is Stendobrimus philippinus. We have submitted the manuscript to a journal, and we are awaiting the responses of the reviewers. This is one of the two new species of Spilus milus. And then another potentially new species of Periphetes. There are at least 3 potential new species of Benaria. These are cave hoppers. And then several new species, potential new species of cave crickets. And then the bug, an aquatic bug inside the cave, plus an undescribed Diplura, which is being led, the description is being led by Ma'am Marnelli Alviola. And then, of course, for spiders and spider allies, the lead person there is Ma'am Amy Dupo. We have several undescribed Araneidae, and then maybe another new species of Masteria. And there are new cockroaches. And the lead person there is our new researcher in the museum, Christian Locanias. So it's a long list. We cannot complete it. It might, these are all new to science, and we thank DOST Picard for giving us financial support through the NICER program. Of course, the UPLB MNH, through which the program and its component projects are based and administered. The IBS Cave Ecology Laboratory for the use of space and facilities. DNR Region 4A, including the Regional Cave Committee for the gratuitous permits in Cavinti, in Tayabas, and in Lubo, and other forms of assistance extended to our program. The local government units for the grant of prior informed consents and accommodation to the team during field work. So with that, thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. Ayan po ang mga miyembro ng aming team. At happy anniversary, MNH.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Lip. So you have, ang dami pa pong kailangan palang i-identify ng Project 3 ng mga bagong species, possibly bagong species ng arthropods. So to present to this, the Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Project 3, Terrestrial Arthropod Diversity Assessment of Cave and Karst Areas in CALABARZON, is presented to Dr. I.L. Lee Jr., ALA Bayon Dupo, OL Eusebio, C. Lucanias, MS Alviola, CFD Duran, and MFKM Camayo for serving as resource person during the UPLB Museum of Natural History special webinar on research and partnerships on caves program. Given this 29th day of September 2022, during the museum's 46th anniversary celebration with the theme Continuing Excellence Through Adversity, Creating Partnerships, Fruitful Research, and Digitized Collections. Signed, Marian P. De Leon, MNH Director. Thank you, Dr. Lee.